Antonio Independent School District. My name is Charbel Nader. This is my co-anchor here, Chris Lawson, and we are part of the Latino Sports Youth Movement. Today we are here to explain the benefits of why increasing the sports program is the most cheapest and most effective solution to improving academics, better attendance records, lower dropout rates, and fewer discipline problems within the Latino population. And this would ultimately lead to more success in the sports programs as well. As you currently know, your district contains about 55,000 students, third largest in the Bexar County district. About 90% are Hispanic students. 86% of those are classified as economically disadvantaged compared to the state average of 57%. The barriers that we saw that face this population is they have a lack of motivation, lack of parental interest, discipline problems due to the fact that kids living in poor urban neighborhoods have on average about 40 hours of unstructured, unmonitored time each week, according to a study done by researchers of Clark University in Worcester, Massachusetts in 2001. The way how we would attack this issue is just by simply increasing your sports budget by 0.5%. As we currently know, you have about a budget of $476,831,541. And you only use 2% of that in your sports budget. Just by increasing by 0.5%, you can generate about an extra $500,000, which would be more than enough to support the programs we're about to tell you about. Chris?
Okay, these are some of the things that we would do to have a Latino sports youth program. First, we would start off with the coaching. These kids need proper coaches, and we would use the NFH, the program, to guide these kids to help with their abilities, not just in sports, but also in their life. The next thing we would do is improve the facilities and their safety. It's really important for them to have a safe environment and a clean facility to practice in. The other thing we would do is transportation. These kids don't really have transportation back and forth from school and so forth, or their houses, so we would help them to get to the sports complex after school and so forth. And the next thing is off-season program. The rest of the budget, the cash that we have left, we would create a program, the off-season, so that these kids not just stray away from sports, but keep them towards the sports and their goals that they want to achieve. And the most important thing that we would do, the last thing, is the reward that we would give to these kids. Because kids want something after they play like a sports, it's either like a trophy or like gears to really show them that they're really important. And the next speaker would be Bad Boy Jesse James.
All right, so the main question is, what is the key change to help these kids improve in school and, of course, sports? And our key change would be to improve the culture or environment of these kids, because the kids in this district, as of right now, have very low grades and have no determination to be successful in the classroom. So number one is vision, which we have already talked about with our previous speakers, and they have provided the plans for the vision to accomplish that goal. Number two is we want our coaches to develop a trust with the kids and the coaches, because if the coaches can develop a trust with the kids, then they will have develop a great trust between them and have successful relationships with the kids. And number three is we want the coaches to be a disciple to these kids, a teacher. We want these kids to learn life values, not just sports roles and sports game plans. We want these kids to learn discipline, how to be a trustworthy person, just overall be a good person in the society of where they live. And number four is live the life. So if our coaches can live the life of what they talk about and be a great example to these kids, be a role model, then this will change the culture of the kids in this district, which will lead to success in the classroom. Because number one, the strongest thing that these kids can gain from this is knowledge. Because knowledge is the most powerful thing anyone can have in life. That's something no one can take away from you, unlike sports. Because at sports, you can only do that for a certain amount of your time in your life. But knowledge is something you can always increase on and improve on. So our next speaker is Cy.
Appreciate you, Jesse. Hi, my name is Cy Pena, and I want to hit you guys with a little bit more stats. Nationally, the GPA of a non-athlete is sitting at 2.17, while the GPA of an athlete stands at 2.98. The attendance for the misses of a non-athlete is 11.9, and for an athlete, 6.3. The dropout rate for a non-athlete is 10.32, while for an athlete is 0.6%. These studies were done in 2001 by Gary Overton. He's a doctoral candidate in the School of Education for the East Carolina University. And just with these stats, it shows you the importance of just the overall discipline and the build that sports have in young adolescents' lives. You know, what we're trying to do is not to, we're not trying to create superstar athletes. We're trying to create participants. We're trying to create the ideal that knowledge is power. The more you know how to work as a team, the more you know how to work in a social surroundings. Big thing with what we want to do is we want to get the kids involved in not just sports, but involved in working harder to succeed, in working to strive for an excellence. A lot of the kids that have to deal with most of these issues of, whether it be transportation or poverty or whatever it is, they all have a lack of motivation, which is what we're trying to instill with sports. Thank you. Now to my co-friend over here, Danny. Danny, take over.
Thank you, Cy. Now I'm going to take over with some key elements and parts and form it into conclusion of what we can do better to help the kids out in a low-income Hispanic community. Some of the things we talked about today were important, and some were more important into the contribution of how to keep them in the classroom and on the field with good coaching, good equipment, and good facilities. Some of those things were increasing sport programs with more effective use of the money. Some of those were with motivation for trophies, like my cast member Chris said. And some of them were funds for kids to play so that they can stay in school and work on sport development with coaching and not have to go outside and work after class. Some of the reasons they can't stay in is because they need to go out and pay bills. And instead of doing that with their time, they can be able to go outside onto the field and release some of the stress that they have on the field instead of off the field. Because most of the time, most players, and as you heard, most runners, they say they get a high when they're out there running. They release stress. They don't feel as bad afterwards. And you can talk to people if they work out. Once they work out, they feel better. So instead of going out and doing something illegal and bad and being forced to go to jail or dropping out of school, if you involve them and surround them with good coaching staff, good equipment, good facilities, and a good field, they can go out there with less stress, and they can be out there and be successful in their lives, because that's what the ultimate goal is. Some of the stats I gave us was that if they worked with kids, they stayed out of trouble 60% of the time, every time. And as you can see, it really helps the kids out. In conclusion, you can see how important sports are for a high school kid, and now you can come to appreciate how difficult it is for a low-income Hispanic kid. Some of the main things we talked about today, and most important thing to end off is, if you can only just focus your money by increasing your sports budget by just 0.5%, you will see vast improvements in your student body. Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you for tuning in to LSYM, Latino Sports Movement. Thank you.